should have a breeze on me. Yeah, I'm the shit. I should have a breeze on me.
Exotic Grunt here, bringing you our top 5 favorite games of 2015. We're going to go from number 5 down to number 1, and then a special honorable mention at the end. So starting at number 5, Ben, what was your number 5 game of 2015?
Ooh, my number 5 game of 2015 would have to be XCOM 2. Great strategy game on the PC. I love turn-based strategy games ever since Civ. Wasteland 2 is another good one. That's 2014, unfortunately. It was just a great game, built perfectly on the fundamentals of the first XCOM game, and I thought it was a great change instead of protecting the Earth being the rebellion.
Word. For me, I'd have to say my number 5 game of 2015 would be Batman Arkham Knight. They did a great job at creating this very immersive and amazing atmosphere. Had a lot of great mechanics, and there's this sense of endless upgrades and progression. So you feel like when you're going throughout the campaign, at no point have you ever had anything fully unlocked. So there's always that sense of you're continuously working toward it. Great story, and again, it's a very immersive atmosphere that's made very beautifully.
All right, Devin, give us your number 4 then.
Number 4, I would have to say personally, would be Wolfenstein The Old Blood. It would be The New Order if that was in 2015. So the Wolfenstein The Old Blood, while it's not technically considered a full game, it's kind of like a standalone game. It is probably for $20 the most you'll get out of any game for that amount of money. It's kind of like a return to the roots. It brings in more of that cult side of the Wolfenstein series that has been with it ever since Return to Castle Wolfenstein, which was my first-person shooter I ever played. Again, best $20 I ever spent. Has great gunplay and handling on the weapons, and the AI in the game are extremely intelligent, so when you put that on the hardest difficulty, you have to be ready to actually plan out your moves and your attacks, because the AI are absolutely unforgiving. What about your number 4?
My number 4 has to be Mortal Kombat 10. I mean, you could come meet me at the pit any day. I am ready. Darth Space Ben 60. You hit me up on Mortal Kombat. I am ready. Great game. Super fun to play. Never had a game quite like it where everyone in my house that I live at can just pick up the controller and start going at each other.
Yeah.
Great game.
For my number 3, I'm going to have to go with Tales from the Borderlands. This is the absolute best story, hands down, in a video game. There's this emotional connection to the game and the characters in it. It makes you feel engaged in a world that you don't actually really do a whole lot in. You have a lot of choices and a lot of room to make those choices that affect the world. But in terms of video games that most people are used to, where you're running around the map and shooting people and stuff like that, you don't get all of that in this game. What you get is the opportunity to make choices that have a huge impact on how the story plays out, and those kind of endless opportunities and abilities that Telltale makes this game a one to be remembered for a long time, and absolutely has the best story again in any video game I've ever played, and almost shed a tear, catch a ride.
All right. For my number 3, I'd have to go with Halo 5. Halo 5 is the pinnacle of Halo perfection, shy Halo 3. Halo 3 is still the best one, but Halo 5 gives its damn best to try to beat it. Halo 5's multiplayer is perfect. The single player, great fun to play. That's where it lacks, though. It lacks in that storytelling. I feel like you get a good story out of the first 2 missions and the last 3. And other than that, everything in between kind of feels like it was a stopgap put in there to just get you towards the end a little longer.
Yeah.
Take its time.
Now, I know your number 2 was my number 3, so you tell me how you feel about Tales from the Borderlands.
All right, Tales from the Borderlands is probably the most perfect game besides the number 1 this year I've ever played. And I mean out of every year. Tales from the Borderlands did something special. It brought this world that, you really don't have this huge emotional depth in Borderlands 1 and 2. I mean, it's definitely there, and character to character interaction, but I didn't know how that would transfer without the running around, the looting, the shooting, and I thought Tales from Borderlands did a fantastic job.
Yeah.
It is perfect. There's multiple moments in that game where you want to sit down and think about everything that just happened. The great twist in the last chapter about who the traveler is won't tell you, just in case you guys haven't played it yet. And then the extra twist right at the end when Fiona and Reese go up to the chest, and then I'm looking forward to the second one hard.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I shed a couple tears in that game, and not many video games can make a grown man shed a few tears.
All right, so I know Halo 5 is your number 2.
Yeah, Halo 5 is my number 2. Again, you kind of went off of it. Not an amazing campaign. I mean, still a great campaign compared to other games, but in terms of Halo standards, not the best campaign. But it is made up for tenfold in its classic arena-style multiplayer that perfects the movement of Spartans and the handling of weapons. It makes a bold push to adding the verticality into a very linear shooter, and does so perfectly. I mean, you can go back, and Halo 3 is still a great, fun game to play, just because it is kind of a little slower and a little more linear, and it makes you really have to plan out aiming your shots. But in Halo 5, it almost kind of pushes away from that a little bit, adds a lot of speed to the game, and that scared a lot of people, but they did it perfectly. And then they also threw in Warzone, which is a great addition. It's kind of a replacement for that big team battle, even though they have that, but it improves on what big team battle really is and what really is kind of meant to be, adding the requisitions. And again, this kind of sense of you can always progress, always unlock new things. And now more so than ever, it's not just about unlocking only cosmetics. You're unlocking things that can help you out in the war zone. But when you go back to arena, that is the classic arena shooter. It's not like where you have a loadout before you come in. Every Spartan goes in with either an AR and a pistol, or they're going in with their BRs and pistols, depending on the game mode. And it's just amazing fun. And I think the replayability on it is amazing. And to me, I think it's tied with Halo 3 for the best multiplayer. Number 1. We're in agreement on this one spot for number 1.
That would have to be Witcher 3 Wild Hunt.
Holy fucking shit.
That is a game that made me. I remember I got it, got home from college. I got it about 2 days after I got home. I don't think I left my couch for about a week after I got it because I refused to stop playing it.
Yes.
It is a fantastic game. Fantastically told.
Yeah.
Geralt at first, you don't really think much of him because, he's kind of that rough, hero that all heroes typically are,
Doesn't talk too much
Doesn't talk
at first.
too much.
Yeah.
Real serious. And then it's just fantastically told that, eventually you start to see him open up a little bit.
Yeah.
Especially with the choices you make. And, when Ciri starts getting introduced, you see that, he has his, light side to Ciri. He has his light side to Yennefer, to Triss. And you start to see this emotional depth around him. And not only that, but the interaction between him and every other character in the game is fantastically told.
Yeah.
Fantastically done. And then the combat's probably the best combat I've ever played in an RPG.
Absolutely. That's the thing for me. I was very skeptical of getting into the game because I'm a huge fan. I love RPGs probably more than any other game. That's probably my favorite genre. Just being able to fully invest in a character that you feel is yourself in a world that you have a lot of impact on. And I didn't realize how much impact I could feel like I could have being Geralt in an entire world. And I think the reason is that there are so many different endings to the main campaign that you can get and the main missions that you have such a great effect on, and that is affected by even side missions that you do and your choices there. So you really do shape the world that you're playing in, and it makes a huge difference. And not only that, but the amount of emotional connection that you create in this game to each character is huge. And on top of that, the monsters that you fight are so diverse. You will never ever feel like you are fighting the same, especially with the Witcher contracts.
Witcher contracts were definitely
highlight of the game, and it keeps you always wanting to go back for more, and makes you actually have to plan out your attack, and it makes the combat meaningful because you're not just running in like, all right, I'm just gonna go slash.
That's what's perfect about the Witcher contracts. What some of the other game lacks, but it's not bad for lacking it. With the Witcher contracts, you find out what you're fighting.
Yeah.
So all that bestiarity thing that you have, being able to see what each beast's weakness are, the oils, everything comes in during those, and it lets you really be as tactical as you want in this RPG.
Yeah.
And that's something I feel like most RPGs want you to try to be tactical, but I feel like they fail at that.
Yeah, it's
for the fact that combat comes without you knowing what you're going to fight.
Exactly.
Here you knew exactly what you were going to.
Yeah.
And it was perfectly done.
Yeah.
And obviously the graphics are great in the game.
Just to throw some credit to my top 2 games that I chose for 2015, Witcher 3 and Halo 5, I think another huge reason why I can put these 2 up here and feel confident about doing so, and with a lot of reference and credit to doing it, is because the 2 developers are actually care about the players and the gamers that are playing these games, because you got CD Projekt Red, who's throwing free content updates throughout like the first few months of it being released.
Yeah.
Not only that, and you may have to pay for a season pass or the expansion, but those expansions are the single-handedly biggest expansions I have ever played in any game ever.
Yeah.
And
even bigger than Shivering Isles, Oblivion, what was a big DLC.
We have Blood and Wine coming out soon here, this upcoming month in June at some point, and that's going to be, they're saying like 20 hours they finished it in, but it's going to take people more than 20 hours. I mean, that itself is most campaigns, if not longer, than a regular game. And why I chose Halo 5 as number 2, again, trying to go back a little bit, but for the same reason. 343 Industries, their free content updates every single month, adding maps, adding new recs, new cosmetic unlocks, new updates to the user interface in the game, right around it. So,
all right, so let's wrap it up. We mentioned honorable mention at the beginning of the game, and our honorable mention from both of us is Fallout 4. Fallout 4.
It makes me so mad, yet so happy when I played it, yet so mad again.
Yeah.
Because
great game.
Yes.
Great in the fact that the weapons are done well, the shooting is done well.
Yep.
Much better than done in Fallout 3.
Oh my god.
And even New Vegas is still my favorite Fallout game. Shooting's done great. The sandbox, like going to explore, looks beautiful. The main story involving the Institute and the fate of the Commonwealth, great. Yep. It's outside of this main story, it lacks. There's no side. I mean, there's side missions, but there's no side quest lines. There's no side anything really.
There is.
Once you're done with that quest, all there's to go do is go collect adhesive, and that's really boring.
That's all it is, collecting adhesive to build your settlements, and that's, for me, a huge issue in the game is that you have this awesome main storyline. There's this, it builds this atmosphere, the Commonwealth. It really builds it up throughout the beginning of the campaign. Your choices decide the fate of the Commonwealth, and you feel like you have a huge impact on the world, similar to Witcher 3. And like the choices that you make are really going to change how the world is around you. But which is all great and is awesome when you lead up to it, until you get, like you said, out of the main story and you go to do side missions, and you're like, 30, 40 hours into the game, and you look at your Pip-Boy and you've got one mission in there, and it's a recurring mission because it's a settlement mission.
Yeah.
Like, that's so disappointing, because that's not up to standard for Bethesda RPGs. Bethesda RPGs are like Oblivion and Skyrim, or even Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas. You've got so many, not only missions and like campaigns or quests, whatever you want to call them, but you have choices and dialogue options.
Yeah.
Like ridiculous amount. In this one, you've only got 4 dialogue options.
Yeah, that's a big thing it failed on for me. And it had nothing to do with the voice protagonist. I actually liked that.
Yeah, I did too, which I think I wasn't gonna, but I enjoyed it a lot, which I thought was good.
Yeah.
But yeah, you keep going.
It's the real thing is purely like all that matters is charisma. And I usually never put points in charisma in any of the other games.
No.
But if you don't have points to charisma in this game, your character pretty much can't do anything.
Talking is literally almost pointless. We'll see.
It's been fun. This is the Exotic Grunt Gaming. I'm Darth Ben 60. Just Ben.
Yeah. You can call me Devin, but my gamer tag's typical nipple 16. If you ever want to add us. If you want to play games with us, you let us know what games you guys feel like playing, because we're always open to socialize and play different games. But
this is our very first podcast. We know it's rough. We know it's ongoing.
Yeah.
We hope you enjoy it. We hope you keep enjoying them as we get better.
Yeah.
Because we will get better.
Yeah.
All right. You guys have a good day.